Hauntcast. Haunting Halloween and horror.
You right.
Interviews with haunting gurus. It's your G host, and calling me on the payphone from the infamous Castle Blood haunted attraction, it's Gravely Macabre, aka Ricky Dick. Ricky.
Hey, I'm glad the payphone's working. I got a pocket full of dimes, so let's get going. It'll be fun.
You know, they're so hard to find nowadays, but yours is still in working order, which is great. It's just when we need it to be. We're having some problems with this newfangled electronical over the internet type thing, and unfortunately, my teleportation device is broken, and I couldn't have you transport you live into the dungeon. So we did have to go the payphone thing, but hey, you had change, so we were good to go. So
that's right. Usually I fear change, but in this instance, it's a good thing.
It's been many, many moons since we spoke last. I don't know how long ago it was, but you said you actually listened to the interview not too long ago, I think, and
I did, because I wanted to figure out how long ago it was since you've been reissuing everything. It has the new date stamp on it or whatever. So I listened to see if I could figure out when it actually was taken, and I'm pretty sure it was in April of 2012.
Okay, great. Yeah, 2012. Oh my God, that's like 12 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
It was like forever ago.
Old, man.
I know. When I listened, I had to go back and I was listening to, because I was re-editing all this stuff and reposting it, and unfortunately I just didn't have the time to dig through and find out where the exact, like what was the exact date and month. I have that somewhere saved, and I was just like, I had to edit through 80 almost 90 shows and cut all the segments down to like individual segments and post them. So I got to a point, I'm like, I'm not digging back through to find all the exact dates of when this was posted. I just can't do it. I had enough work on my plate at that point. But anyway, Castle Blood has moved multiple times since we spoke last. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was actually just getting ready to sign a contract on a new place when I spoke to you, which is why I was being all like sneaky about, no, I can't tell you our address. Because I knew we were moving, but it wasn't official yet, So
and it wasn't even, and the address that you were moving to isn't the current address that you're in. It was like an in between. It was just the next stepping stone to getting to where you are now, I think.
Correct. We're in the same city, but we couldn't get the building we're in now yet. It had to pass through all this red tape with the county and the city and everything like that. So the city at the time gave us a temporary location in a building that the city owned and was empty. So they're like, okay, well, yeah, you can do this for now. And, we're going to either totally refit this building later when you leave or do something else to it. So just like when you move into an office building and you redo it the way you want, and that's kind of what we did for a couple of years. And then finally we came through with this great old crazy building and moved down the street about 3 or 4 blocks.
And once again, you're located in Monessen?
Yep, Monessen, Pennsylvania. We're about a half an hour, maybe a little more south of Pittsburgh.
Now, are you originally from Pittsburgh?
I am not. I am born and raised on the Jersey Shore, Monmouth County, land of
Jersey.
Land of Springsteen. Yep, I was raised on the Long Branch Haunted Mansion.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I was already in high school when that opened, but yeah, man, that was it. My first haunt I ever went to was the Disney one, and then we had all the Jersey Shore haunts to enjoy late 70s, early 80s.
Now, how long has Castle Blood been in existence?
I can't believe it, but this is our 32nd Halloween.
Wow. That's a nice run. That's a good run.
Yep. And it's very hilly here in Monessen, and I can tell you, my knees feel all 32 of it as I'm walking down the hill on my sidewalk.
And like we got to talk about this amazing new location that you're in. Well, it's not really new now because you've been in it for what, like a 10 or 11 years now or something like that. So,
Yep.
but we'll just say your newest location and I think your permanent home now. Tell us about this unbelievable location.
So this place was built by Joseph Manown in 1905, and he was one of the 4 businessmen that founded the city we're in. It's an old steel mill city kind of place. And there's only 2 of the original 4 founders' houses that are still standing. And we have one of them, and the family lived here starting in 1905, or 1906 maybe, I guess, after it was finished being built. And in the 1930s, when they were gone, it was turned into a funeral home. And it was continually used as a funeral home by 4 different families' ownership until 2009. And then it sat rotting and being urban explored and urban vandalized or whatever until we got it in 2014 and started putting her back together.
So was it in pretty bad shape when you moved in, or you to get into the location?
Yeah, well, it was so old. We needed to do all the right things, like every wire in here is brand new. The breaker box is brand new and everything. You can't have any of that old stuff. I mean, some of the timbers in here are like 2x8s, and they're actually 2x8. That's how old they are.
They weren't 1.5 by 7 1/4
Right.
or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So, we have to work on her all the time. We have to work on the roof. We have to work on, on all of it. Sometimes I'm spending more money on the house itself, on the building and structure itself, than I'm spending on props or skulls or new animations. But that's just how it is, because the facility, the building itself, is like kind of the best cast member we have.
Yeah, but you did. I don't think we didn't mention the best part about it is it's a funeral home.
Funeral home for 80 years. It was a funeral home. So the people in town are totally spooked by this place now that it's a haunted attraction, because they all had, sadly enough, life goes on, but grandma was laid out in the vampire room, stuff like that.
So yeah, that is actually crazy. So it's just an amazing, 100-whatever-year-old funeral home, but it's such a classic, iconic looking building. It's and everybody in the area is freaked out about it because they all, because it's haunted and whatnot, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's right here on the corner, downtown. What was until the 80s, 90s, when the steel industry collapsed here, was a very, very downtown business area kind of thing. So the house was always here, and then it fell into disrepair and wasn't being used, and it's just that house on the hill that it looks creepy as heck to everybody. So sometimes we spend more money and time on trying to save the building than we do on spooky stuff some years.
So the original location that you had was a home haunt. That was at your place, correct?
Correct. And it turned pro, and because we were commercially zoned, it turned pro, and we were there for a long time as a pro haunt, but it was still kind of a yard haunt. It was just a giant yard haunt,
Okay, so that was the first 16 years of that.
Correct. Then we moved to Monessen.
And then you were in that location for just a couple
2
of
years.
2 years.
2 years, and then we just moved down the street to this old place. Yep.
So when you moved to that 2-year location, you were just trying to still work out the details for this new location, but you didn't have it squared away yet. So
correct.
Is that right? So it was a temporary fix to get you.
The city owned the building, the little office building we were in for 2 years. So they said, go here for a while we figure this other stuff out.
Okay, so there was some red tape or some things that you had to square away to get this new to get the location, which is the like a historic 100-year-old funeral home. It was always a funeral home
since the 30s. It was built in 1905, but the first time it was a funeral home was in the 30s.
Okay. So once again, you had to get that all squared away. You got the legal nonsense figured out, and then after that 2 years, you moved right into that location, and this is going to be your permanent location, pretty much.
Yeah, this is our. Well, we opened up here in 2014, so this is our 11th season in this place. So I ain't getting any younger. I expect this is going to be our place forever. We own it. It's nobody can get us out, unless we want to be out. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, owning it helps.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, so as long as you own it and you're paying the mortgage, then you pretty much, or if you own it outright, that's even better.
That's right.
Even better. So that's fantastic. How did you even come across that location? Like, how did that happen?
A friend and longtime fan was working for the Savini Makeup School, which is only 4 blocks away from us, and said, "Hey, you should come take a tour of the school. I bet you'd like it." And as I was taking a tour of the school, somebody that was working at the school that also worked for the city said, "Hey, we're trying to turn Menneson into an arts community, and we heard a rumor that you needed to move, and we might be able to help you out because you have an existing business instead of starting from scratch." So it was totally a kismet kind of thing.
That's fantastic. And the location has just been amazing for you.
Yeah, because everybody for 100 years thinks it's haunted anyway. So yeah, it's a wonderful location, a big round tower for on one side. So I have like round rooms in it on the corner, and yeah, it's quite something. People are freaked out just by pulling up, let alone when they get inside.
Perfect. You couldn't ask for anything better than that. I can't imagine. I mean, that just sounds
well, and the
fantastic.
fact that this took 2 different administrations of mayor in the city to make this all happen, but everybody thought, well, what the heck else are we going to do with this creepy old place? This guy's perfect for this. Let's just all band together, stop the politics, and let's just get this guy in this.
Yeah. So basically, it was. I mean, as far as this location, it was if they didn't get you in there, this place either would have remained vacant for probably ever, or they'd have to tear a historic
by now,
location down, which would have been probably a damn shame.
Right, because it's an old steel town, and there's probably 400 houses and buildings, whatever, that are on the list to eventually get torn down if they can't get fixed. So, yeah, when I come in every morning, I talk to all the ghosts that are in the building and say, you got to work with me because that's the only way this place is going to stay here.
Now, do you have paranormal experiences? Do you have
things? For sure. My cast and my customers, and we run. We have a service that comes in and runs paranormal tours of the place. So,
activity is afoot.
Activity is afoot, indeed. People hear things, see things, get touched, the whole 9 yards. We've had customers for the Halloween tour be standing there up against a solid wall, swearing that somebody had a hand on their back. Like, you're standing against the wall, whatever. Okay, whatever you say. We believe you. It just wasn't part of the show.
Yeah. This place just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. There's a few of my cast members that if they're, repainting a room or working, they don't want to work by themselves late at night here anymore.
You let the paranormal ghost hunters run rampant through your place every once in a while?
Yeah, a couple times a year. We don't let everybody come. We kind of have an exclusive deal with one company, Whispering Souls.
Oh, okay.
In Pittsburgh. They used to be called Ghosts and At. But they changed, and "at" is a very Pittsburgh vernacular, like instead of y'all and all that kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
So it was a good jokey thing. But they changed their name, and they're very professional, and they have all the equipment, and they do everything. I stay up in the gift shop when we do paranormal tours because, we're haunters. We could do any of that stuff fake. So I need them to believe. I need them to believe that what they want to believe is happening. So I've never even taken the tour. I don't know. My cast members guide them through so they don't get lost and they don't screw with anything because obviously it's a working open business.
Yeah.
It's not some old farmhouse in a field that they can just go ghost hunt and who cares what happens to the place. But they've been doing it for maybe 6 years, like a couple years before the pandemic for sure. So quite a while. They're here 2, 3, 4 times a year, and they sell out, and it's a good thing. It certainly helps us with expenses off season,
Yeah. So besides being located in a basically like a vintage funeral home and it being haunted with paranormal activity, your haunt is also not your typical haunted attraction as far as haunted attractions go. Like, what are some other ways that Castle Blood, as far as the attraction itself, how you make it a more unique experience? It's not your run-of-the-mill.
Yeah, it's really hard to define. The hardest thing is to tell people is to try and explain it without saying what we're not. That's a horrible way of advertising by, well, we don't do this or we don't do that. Well, then you're putting the words in people's brains, so you don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So we're part theatrical, where you actually get a storyline that you have to follow through. And if some of our fans, which we do have people that go all the way back to the yard, if they're paying attention, it's been one long story over 56 or 57 shows now, because we do off-season shows too. But people can just come and jump right in and understand it. We don't do it that tight where you don't know what's going on. So it's a little theatrical. We use some magic-y kind of effects, but we don't do magic tricks. It's not like walk into this room and, hey, let me pull a bunny out. No, we don't do that. But we use mentalism and some other sleight of hand things, because early on I thought, well, the problem with other haunts, when Jason stops you with his machete, if he doesn't kill you, he's not really Jason. So if I have a vampire who should be able to read your mind and do things, they need to be able to do that. Now, we do it fake with, like how a palm reader does at the county fair. But we use those kind of techniques so that our monsters actually have powers. Which we train up the actors to do it. We have a couple of full-time professional magicians that work here, and they run all that kind of stuff for me. But then we also have a game aspect to it. In '96, we put games in. So there's a challenge that you're on every night, and every show we do 4 a year now. It's a totally different script, a totally different thing you're looking for, and your quest you're on, and a little bit like Dungeons and Dragons, a little bit like an escape room. I used to get mocked for the whole game thing and magic tricks and, pick this one or that one and which one will get you what you need. And any of my haunt brothers and sisters out there that also run escape rooms, you all owe me $1. Because I got nothing but abuse in the 90s and early 2000s at Transworld and at anywhere else I went for doing this crazy artsy-fartsy nonsense in a haunt. It'll never work. And I'm like, it'll work. It's different, but it'll work. So it's kind of it's kind of theatrical. It's kind of escape roomy. It was immersive before that was a tagline. It was interactive before that was a tagline. So we have a good time with it. It's definitely different. One reviewer said this is the place to go if you're not sure you want to go to a haunted house. Because look, I love them, you love them. Anybody listening to this loves regular traditional haunted house. I'll run from the chainsaw guy just like anybody else. But let's be honest, 90% of the American public probably doesn't want to go. Even though we do millions of people a year as an industry, most people go, I don't want to do that. But they still love Halloween, as Home Depot and Lowe's in the past 10 years will prove.
Yeah.
So we've been, I have people that say, well, if you love Halloween, but you're not sure you love haunted houses, go here because it's traditional old school Halloween as far as what it looks like, what the characters look like, what the decorations look like, all that. It's old school Munsters, Universal Monsters, Addams Family, with a little dash of Hocus Pocus and Nightmare Before Christmas thrown in as well.
Halloween the way it ought to be.
That is right. That is right.
which is
That
your
shirt.
tagline, I think, isn't it?
Yep. Yep. Shirts that. Yep. Or classic American Halloween is another line we use. Or chainsaws are stupid. We still sell T-shirts that say that. Right.
I am so anti chainsaw. I really cannot stand, chainsaw. Every time I went to one haunted attraction, if you even want to call it that, it was so pathetic. And there was one area we went to, and they thought that like that that old more cowbell from like the Blue Oyster Cult song. It was like more chainsaw. Like, we need more chainsaw, and they just had 5 or 6 people run out with chainsaws at us, and it was just ridiculous. I'm just laughing at them, going, "Okay, you got a chainsaw. All right, cool, good for you." It was just like,
well, when we first started, we're in Western Pennsylvania. This is the land of George Romero and Tom Savini.
yeah,
So every other haunt around here was doing that kind of stuff. So it seemed a little silly to do another haunt like that.
yeah, it's just kind of cliche. And every time I see it, it's just kind of cliche. It's like, come on, man, come up with something better. Even
Well,
like
we used to
those
have-
little prod sticks that crackle and stuff. I'd rather see those or anything else beyond the chainsaw. But
We used to sell bumper stickers that said the chainsaws are a stupid thing. And one year, our good friends at Haunted 100 Acre Manor came by off season and picked up a bunch of the stickers. And actually, that year they had put in a lot. They had a whole chainsaw area. But if you looked really close and you weren't running away, you'll see that all the blades had our Castle Blood because chainsaws are stupid stickers on them. Because the actors there go, "This is too much. We don't need to do this." So in their little protest, they put Castle Blood stickers on their blades.
yeah, I mean, I know they're effective. I know they work on probably 90% of people, but it's whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm looking for a little something more from my haunted attraction.
Well, just different, just different. It's like Viva la Difference. It's like everybody does what they do, and as long as they do it from the heart and they're trying to do a good job, that's fine.
Hey.
All shows are good. It doesn't matter. All shows are good.
Variety is the spice of life.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so go out there and try some
I
different
think
stuff.
the industry would suffer if there were no chainsaws anywhere, to be honest.
Oh no, it would. I get the need. I get why people do it. I know it's effective and I know it works. It's just one of those things.
There was one time I was working for John Denley from Boneyard Productions, and the ending scene we had to build in this haunt was hell. And we had little demons holding pitchforks, the tiny skeletons all up in the high parts of the walls and this and that. And the owner's like, "So this will be where the chainsaw is, right?" And I'm like, "No, I am not putting a damn chainsaw in hell. That's stupid. Why does Satan need a chainsaw?" So we got a leaf blower and turned it into a flamethrower. So that worked okay because the sound is the same.
Yeah, it's loud and noisy, and
Loud and noisy. And we just put all kinds of flame-colored cellophane on the end of it, and they ran just as good. You need some big finale, right?
yeah. How did you end up? How did you originally formulate the direction of the show and in going a more kind of theatrical route versus just a bunch of boo scares and stuff like that?
From day one, the trick-or-treating nights back in the day were also my friends having a party at my house, which was also a big old Victorian and all that kind of stuff. And my friends are all costume designers, prop makers, magicians, actual clowns, circus clowns, and stuff like that. So you tell a magician friend who's dressed as a wizard, "Hey, when they get to you in this little easy up with some camo net over it, you're going to give them the candy." And they're like, "Well, that's boring as hell." So of course he would magically produce their damn candy bar. So I was like, "Ooh, look at this." So it was because of the cast and my friends and who we all were at the time that it just took that kind of swerve,
Yeah. Did you come from a theater background?
Yeah, a little bit. I owned a costume shop on the Jersey Shore in the 80s. And I was a performing, touring clown. I did circus work. I did birthday parties. I did 3 years as a Pizza Hut family night balloon twisting clown. So all this stuff. I ended up, teaching at some of the clown schools and things like that. Not Ringlings, but some of the other ones. And it was always variety arts for me. Not just clowning. It was all the different things between ventriloquism and magic. And because of I liked all that stuff, we hooked up with a bunch of sideshow people and real circus people and like that, and just learned so much. One of my oldest actors here that's been with me forever, even before the castle, is a Ringling graduate.
No kidding.
So we just have all these other skills that we use,
Now, do you have great retention with your cast? Do you have a lot of people who've been there with you for years?
Yep, I have. I think it's 10 people that have 25-year patches.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, not so much so that they're kids, and now some of the grandkids work here.
That's great.
My grandkids work here now.
No kidding.
I was a little older than people think when I started this, so yeah, my grandkids work here now. I wasn't 18 when I started the castle,
I mean, I know you change up like storylines and things like that to make it fresh every year, but has the overall kind of format of what you do been pretty consistent, or has that also evolved over the years?
Yeah, when I got remarried to my lovely wife Dawn, who plays Hexabart the Witch, in case you see it on the website, the crazy witch character with the horns and the great prosthetics and everything. She's the total game nerd, game master. She was the Canadian Dungeons and Dragons grand champion 2 years in a row back in the 90s. So she really changed how the scenes that have games in them work around here. She's just a genius with that kind of stuff. So there used to be sets that were a little talky, preachy, And now there's actually interactive stuff happening in every scene. It's not really a come and listen to the old cranky vampire tell you, sit down, children, and I'll tell you a story. We don't really do that anymore. Something's always happening that the group needs to participate in and needs to actively pay attention and hands-on do stuff with us.
What are some of the classic monsters or characters that inhabit the haunt?
So we have witches, and they can go from incredibly rough looking, like my wife's character, to pretty gothy witches, depending on who's working the scene that night. We are a vampire-owned haunt, so it has still heavy vampires as we started. But then we have mortal characters too, like the fortune tellers and the mad scientist. He'll tell you he's not mad, he's just annoyed. And we have probably seven or eight people that have multiple characters that I can put them in where I need them that night, kind of thing. So that's nice because it also gives the customers a little bit of a change. They see plenty of people they've seen before. But even because the cast is set up as legally, I can say now, a charity theater group thing, not everybody is here every night. And we actually have actors from many, many states that travel in and treat us almost like a cosplay convention, where they do a weekend in their character and then they go back home. So if you came once every weekend, you'd kind of see a different show. Because depending on what kind of characters and what kind of room, they have their own opinions about the mortals being allowed in or how they want to play the game and stuff like that. So it stays fresh for the customers that way too.
Yeah, so even with like weekend to weekend or night to night, like a Friday to Saturday night, you could catch a different show. It's like,
yeah, because I may have a genius actor here Friday and Saturday, but they work at 6 a.m. on Monday, so they don't do Sunday nights with, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it changes a lot. It's a giant Tetris game. That's why I had white hair.
Yeah, that when you don't have somebody who is playing this character in this role in this spot in this room, every single night the haunt's opened and you have to completely keep working people in. I have to imagine that's a hell of a lot more challenging.
I have a couple that are here every night and do the same scene.
Oh, yeah.
I have nothing I love better than OCD actors, man, because you just plug them in and they do the same scene for the whole damn year. It's awesome. But we also train them up so that half of the cast, at least, are only here once in a while, and they need to step up and go into a scene where our normal veteran actors usually are, right? Because I don't want to disappoint the public. They all need to be at the same level.
Do you use any like newfangled special effects or tech in the haunt, or do you kind of keep it more old school?
No. It's all, especially for the October show. The Christmas show, there's no scares, there's no animatronics, there's no nothing, because we want people to bring kids. But especially the Halloween show, we have animations, we got air cannons, we got all kinds of stuff like that. You know, we're always working on it. I do it a little different than a lot of haunts do, and if anybody's listening to this is the way to do it, in my opinion. What's the biggest problem with some of the animations to me is the sensors. First off, the managers trip them more often than the customers do as they're doing their rounds. So we've started changing things where there's hidden buttons in the set where, depending on how it's going and where they are, the actors trigger the animations. So they can be looking right at the customers as they're entering, as they're leaving, as they're doing something, and trigger the animations. It's perfect timing every time. So Halloween should still be scary, and the more we can make the in-between hallways scary, the more frazzled they are when they're trying to do the challenges. You know, so it's like they get in a mindset of they don't know what's going to happen, and then we're trying to get them to concentrate on some little puzzle. So yeah, I still need as far as, you know, being the theatrical haunt, I still need a mix of everything here to succeed. And we have live scare actors too who are really good. And, you know, I learned a long time ago to build the haunt so one scare actor can do 3 or 4 different scares. So we don't need a million of them, but we got some good ones.
Yeah, the less people you have to depend on, I'm sure, the better. You know, if you can get more out of one person versus, you know. I do notice that in some haunts too. You go through one area, you'll be one room, you know, and then you go out and you take a left in that, so that where the scare actor is scaring you from, like in this like area, they can kind of hit you in this room, and then you got to go around and you go down the other hall, and they hit you from the other, you know, from like a drop panel from the other area. You know, they can kind of get a couple of scares, get a couple of scares in from like one position, which is pretty funny, you know. Yeah,
we have one, our big scare box. There's 4 scares from it, but because of the timing where people are in the rooms for a while doing the challenges, it'll take 20 minutes before the same group sees this one scare actor. And a couple of the scares, they don't really see them, so they don't really even realize it's the same person.
What's your average time to get through the entire show?
An hour.
About an hour? Wow, that's a good. That's a lot of entertainment for your money. Yeah, that is.
It may be $25, which is very average for Pittsburgh, but it's an hour long show. I mean, you know, there's times when it's a bunch of teenagers who run between the sets and they'll shave 10 minutes off the whole show by the time they're done. And there's people that are a little bit older that want to take in the atmosphere, and it'll totally screw up our timing by taking longer because they don't run from anything. They want to look at how pretty it is. But average, you know, opening night, it might be 45 minutes because all the actors are rushing because they just learned their lines. But we average an hour.
Are there any other like I don't know, any tips or tricks or anything that like you can offer that's just for other haunters who are looking to do something a little bit different and off, you know, maybe a little bit more something like about, you know, maybe what you're doing, or just working a little bit into their haunt? Anything that you could recommend, or words of wisdom? I don't know, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just like if you want to do any effects that are handheld and stuff like that, you know, I know brick and mortar magic shops are getting hard to find, but you can still find them online with instructions on how to do things. It depends on what people's throughput is, really, because you're not going to have a whole lot of time for a whole lot of things. But like a lot of people might have seen a magician that'll like look like he has a little light in his hand and he can throw it back and forth between his hands, you know, that kind of stuff. You could do that while people are walking past you and not sitting for 5 minutes in a room. And it'll still make you look cool. Or if you're a mad scientist, you can go over to the gauge that has the blinking LEDs and make it look like you pull the light out of the LED and you have it right there in your hand, and then you just toss it aside. You know, And magic tricks like that are like $20, $25. So there's easy, simple, quick little things you can do if you're not going to have the throughput killer timing that we do, because we only start a group every 5 minutes. And sometimes they don't even have time to finish the challenges, because they're goofing around or whatever. So it really depends on how you're going to be committed to what kind of show you want to do. We used to only be 3 minutes and in between, and we weren't really getting the crowds. It's been this town we're in is a tough draw because it's not a great town, and we're trying to get the nice people from the city to come down and spend their big bucks with us and everything. So since we weren't doing thousands a night, we're like, well, the heck with it. Why don't we do even slower throughput and actually give them a show? So they actually know what's going on, and they come in, they sit down in a room, they get to know the character for a couple minutes, they do their thing, they get up, they move on to the next thing. And while they're moving on to the next thing, that's when the animations happen, the air cannons, the scare actors, all that. So it works out good for us. It's a tough one to try and explain to other people, but we do consulting on trying to be this kind of show a little bit. It's easier if you're a big yard haunt to do it. If you're a big giant inner city regular full pro haunt, you need to shove them through as fast as you can. I understand that. No problem, no harm, no foul. That's just how it is.
Yeah, you got to make money. You got to stay open. It's got to be
correct.
Profitable.
Correct.
Yeah, I went to this. I went out to the Headless Horseman in New York, and we
love them. Love them a lot. Used to make some costumes for them back in the day. They're awesome.
Yeah, we hit some other haunt that sounds like it was inspired by what you do. As we went in, and they were doing, there would be, there would be a character, and she would be talking us through. So we were going into different sets, and then they would be, telling us stories and dialogue and whatever, and asking us questions and getting us involved. And then something would happen, like the lights would go out, and then somebody would pop out of the, from one of the corners or something like that. So it was very much kind of like, it sounds kind of similar to what you do, and it might have been inspired. I don't know if they're still around. Unfortunately, I don't recall the name of the place. This was like after we hit the Headless Horseman, and it was like, hey, I got tickets for one more place. This buddy of mine, and because he lives down in New Rochelle, and I was like, oh, okay, great. I didn't know we were getting two haunts in one night. Excellent. And then the second one was just like that, and it was a great experience, especially because you're two completely different haunts, two completely different experiences, and they were both great, just different. And I enjoyed it a lot.
When this kind of stuff works good, it would be like your opening actor, who's giving you the rules or doing this or doing that. And, if you go to any clown or magician convention in your city or whatever, they can tell you, they can teach you how to have a little pile of candles on your table, and you can just wave your hand over it and they light. Stuff like that. Stuff like that will put the magic in your haunt, and takes no real big time, takes time to set up, but doesn't take a whole lot of time. And you're not an escape room, so you can do quicker, easier effects. You can do things with a remote control to turn stuff on and off. You don't have to have the customers pushing a hidden button for anything. You as an actor can control what they're doing. So there's if you have a fortune teller, well, it's really easy to make a Ouija board where that planchette moves around on its own, stuff like that. So things where like with a Fright Props prop, you get the oppressor foot that looks like a sewing machine foot, and you hook that to their controllers. So when you're sitting there, you use the presser foot, and you can make the lights dim and go brighter and darker in your set. If you're sitting behind a desk or whatever, they don't see you doing it. You clap your hands above the desk when the lights go off or whatever, and you're just doing it with your foot underneath. There's a good tip for everybody. I hope I get a percentage of presser foot sales now. But Fright Props has saved me so many times, I'm more than willing to show for them to be honest.
Give them a free plug in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a simple little effect, And once again, it's all just just a little step. You could do it with you could even do it with a little pressure mat too. Either way, of that or just a little. I have one of those little step. It looks like like a sewing machine foot pedal thing where you just step on it and it just makes the click sound. And I get all kinds of little gizmos that I picked up over the years, and I'm just a little small home haunter guy.
Well, there's a laughing pumpkin-headed guy at Spirit this year.
Yeah,
he doesn't really move much, so maybe that means he'll last for years. But he does have a pretty good laugh. And my wife, the witch, was saying, "Oh, it'd be cool to put him in a spot where the people come in and the actor is like telling a joke or something, and the actor can secretly trigger him to laugh at the jokes." I'm like, yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty funny, So heck, if the audience, if the live audience isn't laughing at you, at least you have the pumpkin-headed monster guy laughs at you. That's okay.
Yeah, you could be like, "Hey, see, he gets it. He gets the joke."
Exactly.
You guys don't get it. You're not as cool as this pumpkin guy over here. He gets my jokes.
Yep.
Do you do a show for Christmas around the Christmas time? Is that the only one that you do off season?
Nope, we do same. We used to do Valentine's Day, but the weather here is too sketchy, and I actually got frostbite a couple of years working the line because you're the boss. You got to take the roughest job, right? So instead, we went to St. Patrick's Day, which I didn't want to do because I thought it'd be nothing but drunk people, and I was amazed how many people wanted something non-alcoholic to do on St. Patrick's Day. So after the winter's almost over, St. Patrick's Day comes. It's been a long time since Halloween. St. Patrick's Day is pretty successful for us.
Good.
And then in June, we do, right before the weather turns stifling hot, we do Summerween, which is a regular Halloween style show. But of course, we let the characters wear almost summerish type costumes. They're allowed to have like short sleeve shirts that match their regular shirt, that kind of stuff and whatever. And we do throw some Ren Fairy kind of things in there because everybody's in that mood, right? So instead of some of the orcs and ogres and monsters that we have, we'll have fairies and fawns and stuff like that, working some of the scenes for the summer show.
So it's a Summerween. It's the St. Patrick's Day, and then you do the Christmas one. Those are all your off-season shows. Yep.
And we do weddings here. We do the paranormal shows. We do some smaller birthday parties. The bills keep coming in every month when you have a standing attraction, right? So you do whatever you got to do. It's only January and February where we do nothing.
Do you rent yourself out, or should they say, like, contract yourself out to work on people's haunts and do other haunt-related type jobs, consulting?
I used to
or anything?
A lot. Until about 2009 or 2010, I did a lot. I've actually worked on, I think it's 25 or 26 different haunts around the country, a few on my own and a few as a subcontractor with John Denley's old Boneyard Productions company. But I ain't getting any younger, and my knees don't want to do construction every single day, to be honest. Yeah. I still make costumes. We were the first we'll make you a custom costume company to show at Trans World back in 97, where you could come into our booth and we'd measure you and give you color samples and all like that, and we'd make you what you want. So I still make costumes for people quite often, and that's actually how I try, and props. So I try to make money that way, the rest of the year in between, because again, like I said, the actor troupe and everything here is kind of a non-for-profit, and while I have to be a for-profit because of owning the building and the gift shop and everything, I don't make a lot on the castle itself. I still do all this other stuff to actually make a living, as does my wife.
Yeah, seems like,
but it's all Halloween related somehow, So
seems like everybody in the industry has their hands in. In many different pots. Like they're like I was talking to Ed Gannon recently, and he's got his tour. He started doing ghost adventure tours because he's in Salem, so he's doing the tours. He's got his haunt. I think he was just down in SeaWorld or something, building a room or something, building some rooms for them down there. Yeah, he's all over the place. So it seems like a lot of people in the industry, in order to make money and pay bills, you got to kind of be doing quite a few little things out there.
Yeah. Ed's a good friend. I've been on the job site a lot with him. It's a pleasure to work with him.
He's a great
guy. Building he has now, when John Dunley had it, I worked on that building. I haven't seen it since Ed took over. I want to see if there's any of my stuff left in it. You know, because
I was just up there.
Dunley had it for 10 years before I ever worked on it. But it was still John's when I worked on it, and I love going to Salem. I worked on his witch mansion for a while. I worked on a couple things with him.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing better than being on a job site with Ed Gannon, because he's got every tool imaginable in his toolkit or in that damn van he used to have, and you know it's his because he spray paints it all neon green.
There's no confusing Ed's tools.
No confusing Ed's tools, man. They are neon green if they're his. Yep. Yeah. He'll loan you anything, but you better fucking bring it back.
Yeah. I will no longer ever borrow tools from somebody. I had some neighbor lend me a drill one time, and I tried to the first time I tried to use it, the thing was not working, and I had to bring it back to him going, the drill doesn't work. It's like, it worked when I gave it to you. And then I was this whole freaking thing with him over the drill. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. Maybe my kids screwed around with it. I don't know. But all I know is when I picked it up and tried to use it, it didn't work. So, and so it was like a big rift between us. And I'm like, I will never borrow tools from somebody again, ever. I will never do it. Oh, by the way, speaking of friends of yours, I talked to another friend of yours, Dr. Lady, not too long ago.
Oh man, what a good guy! What a good guy! Him and Laura and Wolfie, they're all great out there.
Yeah, and when I was talking to him, when I had you scheduled originally to interview you, and then I was going to schedule him, and then I had him scheduled right after. As I think I was going to record both of them in the same day, because we were supposed to do this months ago. So when I I said, there was I was supposed to have an interview with Ricky Dick, and then all of a sudden he told me that he had to go to the hospital, or there was some issue you had to go in for, and then he was all worried. He was like, do you know what's going on? And I'm like, I have no idea. He just messaged me that he had to reschedule due to like an illness, or he was in the hospital, and he was like, he was really he seemed like he was really worried about you. And I was like, oh, well, you know what? Reach out to him. I really don't know what's going on, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm all on the mend now. It's good. It was a little dicey for a couple months, but I'm doing okay. And I don't post about that kind of stuff on Facebook. That's all, that kind of stuff. I just whatever. Nobody needs to.
I keep my problems to myself.
It's such a weird little area where I'm at, where I don't need them to think, oh, the Castle Blood guy is going to die. I guess we don't need to go this year, know? So.
Yeah. I just also, I'm not one of those people who likes to tell people if I have problems, I keep them to myself. Where they should be.
Right. Well,
I'm not looking for likes and clicks online. I don't need that. I only post like Halloween, haunt, horror stuff, and maybe some occasional dick and fart jokes. I don't do anything else.
Yep.
My real life is
the same way. He's had health scares that I didn't know about until it was over too. So
yeah, I know.
I'm sure he says if I didn't tell him about anything, he's like, "Oh, it must be bad if he's not talking about it." So, what a great guy. When his TV show was live and current, that's when we had our TV show too. So he appeared on ours, and I'd go out there to Horror Hotel and do some taping with him. And man, he let me use some of his skits and redo them with my characters, and gave him all writing credit and all like that because he's hilarious.
Oh, he is. He is absolutely hilarious. I watch his Creepy Cheapies every Friday, and he just cracks me up. He cracks me up. And I've watched a lot of his old videos because he has like the horror fit, like the fan attic, where he used to go up in the attic to do the mask reviews, and now he's got his nice little studio. And Yeah, he's awesome. I discovered him just like a year or so ago, and when I said I'm bringing Hauntcast back, I'm getting Dr. Lady on the show. There's no way I'm not gonna. Luckily, he said I don't know who you are or what your podcast is, but sure, I'll do it. He was cool enough about doing it, so I was grateful.
He's so humble. He is so freaking great. He's funny. He's talented. He's so artistic. I mean, I listened to it. I don't remember if he talked about this back in the 90s, back in the 80s, really. If you got that Phil Morris from Morris Costumes, How to Run a Haunted House, all the illustrations and drawings in it, he did when he was a teenager.
Wow.
Nobody even remembers that.
He did not mention that. He did not mention that at all.
He gets credit in the book, but he's been a part of this industry since long before there was an industry and long before he was even an adult.
Yeah, I just look at his, but from watching his channel, I'm like, this channel should be huge. It should be so much more popular than it is. I mean, I watch it every Friday now. Whenever his videos come up, I watch it immediately. So, but I'm like, and that's what I was trying to hope to do. I said, well, once again, I'm also in the same situation while bringing Hauntcast back from like the 8th time. But anyway, coming back, I'm like, yeah, we're trying to rebuild the audience, and we're actually doing pretty well. The things are moving along in the right direction for sure. And I was like, I gotta just do a little collab with him, because I just thought, people, at least my audience, it's such a great crossover for what he's doing. Absolutely, my audience should be listening or watching his videos. He's great.
Anytime you get to perform with him, it's just a pleasure. I mean, I actually was gravely at Horror Hotel one night. I was just working outside, not doing inside script stuff, but it was like, oh my God, this is so cool to just be here with him and Laura and the whole crew and their whole crew and his mom. She passed away, but man, his mom was hilarious and awesome. And
is he in the Cincinnati area roughly?
No, he's north of Columbus, halfway between Columbus and Cleveland.
Okay, because I might be doing the Legendary Haunt Tour. I'm positive I'm doing the Legendary Haunt Tour in Ohio this year, and I'm like, I'm going to be in. You just popped into my head. It's like, I'm going to be out there. I should try to contact him and see if there's any way in hell I can go to the Horror Hotel and check it out. I would really love to do that. I don't know
most of that stuff is set up year round in his house. He has so much stuff that he used to have to take down stuff to make sure there was room for the public to go through.
Yeah,
that's how many masks and figures and all that stuff that he has.
Yeah, I got to get out there. So now that I know I'm definitely going out there, I've got to hit him back up and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to be out there any way I could get, even if I just a half hour just to walk through and just check out what you have, check out your collection, and to meet him in person would be pretty cool. So,
yep.
All right. Yep. Anyway, enough of Dr. Lady. This is all about you, Ricky. This is
all about me. Okay.
All right. So, anything else that people need to know about Castle Blood for this season?
No, not particularly. We're working hard. I mean, I got a crew. I'm at the castle right now, and I got to. It's the end of August, so of course I have a crew here working on the weekend, right? So it's more of the same, but it's always different here. So you can count on good theater, on good fun, on good whatever. You know what the nicest thing about doing the challenges are? When people come with their own group of 6, 7, or 8, because they're going to make memories that they're going to be mocking on each other for the rest of their lives about who did well, who screwed up, who didn't, who actually was scared from something, who like that. It's a very fortunate business we're all in, where we get to affect people that way, and they're going to be talking about us long after we're gone. We're really all lucky to be in this business.
Maybe one day I'll work in the haunted attraction industry. I said I've got about 5 or 6 more years before I think I'm ready to move and head somewhere else. And I said, if I do that, I might, instead of trying to restart my business over somewhere else, try to just work and do something I really love and just something I really, that's really fun. So if I can get my money situation squared away where I can be like, yeah, I can kind of pseudo retire, but I want to work in the haunted attraction industry because I want to work. I don't want to and I would really like to work at a much bigger haunt, but we'll see. Well, down the road, we got years ahead of me, but at least you think you do. And then, then something happens.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle choice,
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah,
if there's a big city haunt that can afford a nice paycheck, it's a dream come true. But mom and pop smaller places like this or whatever, you can manage it. You don't get fancy vacations and you don't whatever. And I'm pretty much working on something to do with Halloween every single day. But I love it, and I get to do what I like to do. It's like I don't really have a boss other than the bills and the electric company and all that. So yeah, I just at this point in my life, to be quite honest, I'm thankful that the customers love what we do and come back because I actually really just build what I like and hope there's enough customers to support it. I don't pander to what I think is a current trend or do any of that kind of stuff. We come up with a story, we come up with a theme, we do what we want to do, and
people
I'm
respond.
sure people have, right.
Yeah.
And as long as they respond, then it's like, okay, I'm not going to respond by doing the same thing next year in a different color for you. We're all going to try, because even the cast members, some of them now, after all these years, write their own routines, I certainly don't. I'm 65 now. I'm too old to be doing everything here myself, especially when I got 3 generations on the property, right? So let them take over some of this. Like my social media. I have one kid that's not my own kid, but I wish he was. He's awesome. Takes care of all the advertising part of social media. And my daughter, who is a social media person for a nice company, she does all the comedy and silly and the TikTok and the all that kind of stuff we do. And I just let them roll with it. Let them roll. Tell me what I need to do for you. If you want me to be in front of the camera, just tell me what to say. Tell me what you want. And let the next generations kind of do that kind of stuff. I just worry about sitting here painting rocks and making skulls look pretty,
Now, for the haunt, you offer an evening tour, which is your classic show, and then you offer a trick-or-treat matinee show, which is more lights on scary, like no scare actors. It's more
no scare
kid-friendly.
Actors right. No scare actors or animations. The show is still the same, although some of the dialogue might change to not threaten them with instant death if they don't do well when they're 5, But and instead of every place that they're supposed to be scare actors, the scare actors love being here for the matinees because we brighten up their costumes and let them hold a big giant bowl of candy and give out trick-or-treating along the way. So yeah, the kids come in costume. We do it Sunday, all 4 Sunday afternoon. We're changing it it's so popular enough that we changed our schedule. So all 4 Sunday afternoons, we do matinees now. And the lights are on, and the parents are allowed to snap a couple pictures of the kids as they're going through or with an actor now and then. And it's a big, great fun time. It's good for our souls because we're back to kids in costume trick-or-treating at the castle, just like we started.
Where can people buy tickets? Where do they go?
Well, if they want to do the reservation kind of thing, which is smart, we started that during the pandemic and we kept it because now people reserve their tickets for the movie theater. They reserve their tickets for escape rooms. We got no problem with them doing that here. So if you just go to hauntpay.com and search Castle Blood, you'll come up with all the different shows and the availability, what time do we have left and all that. Otherwise, we still sell tickets at the door. That's not a problem. As we're taping this, so always a couple of weeks before each of our 4 shows, if you go to our Facebook page, we usually run a couple of specials where you can get a little pile of tickets and one of the annual souvenir T-shirts for like half price. We only do that for like 2 weeks, a couple of weeks before we open, because we always need money to finish everything up. So we try to start cash flow a little earlier than opening night. So there's that way to get some tickets too, and you just come to Will Call and pick up your stuff. But reserving time in a 15-minute block, you'll get in within the 15 minutes of when you purchase your ticket for. And we don't charge extra for that. We don't charge extra for the fast pass kind of reserve time thing. We charge the same $25 whether you buy it at the door or whether you reserve your ticket. So.
All right. And if they want to just find more information, they can go to thecastleblood.com.
That is correct.
Directly to the website.
Yep. You can go to Facebook with Castle Blood. You can go to TikTok. TikTok and Instagram are the official Castle Blood. So if you want to see the funnier side of the castle, go to the TikTok page, official Castle Blood, because that's all the actors, the lunatics start running the asylum on the TikTok page, I'm afraid. On the other hand, some of it's so fun that one of the ones my daughter did with me, I don't understand how the analytics work or whatever, but we did a summer jokey fun thing about Gravely, and it's up to 4.9 million views. What the heck? How does that happen? I have no idea how that happens. So, after that day, I just keep my mouth shut and let my daughter do what she wants.
Yeah, let those kids do their thing, their ticky-talk thing and whatever.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Ricky, or Gravely Macabre.
Yep.
Have a killer season. I hope your 2024 season just is absolutely spectacular. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I hope you have some fun for Halloween too. And everybody listening to this, thank you so much. I never, ever imagined that it would be 32 years doing this. And it's only because of the customers and our fans and all that kind of stuff that we're managing to keep going. So, if they keep coming, I'll keep doing it.
Please follow the podcast. Give us a 5-star review. Stalk us on social media. Links in the description. And visit our blog page for more show info at hauntcastpodcast.net/blog. Until next time, stay scary.
Go ahead. Go on, there's the door. You can do better. Let's see how far you get.